Emily Carter turned 42 on a quiet Monday morning in Portland. There was no celebration, no cake, no phone calls before work. She woke up, made coffee, and watched rain slide down the window. Her life felt steady but also thin, like a song played too many times. She did not hate her life. That was the strange part. Nothing was broken, nothing was loud. Yet something inside her felt unfinished. She had been married once, long enough to learn habits and silences. The marriage ended without anger. No shouting, no blame. Just two people realizing they were walking in different directions while holding the same map. After the divorce, Emily promised herself peace. She kept her promise so well that she stopped reaching for anything new. Her days moved fast but felt empty. She worked at a small insurance office, answered calls, filled forms, smiled when needed. At night, she cooked simple meals and watched shows she barely remembered the next day. Friends invited her out sometimes. She often said no. Comfort became her shield. That Tuesday evening, rain followed her home again. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, keys cold in her hand. A piece of paper rested near her door. She almost ignored it, thinking it was an ad. But something made her pick it up. Community Writing Workshop. Beginner's Welcome. Emily laughed. Softly. Writing was something she once loved in college, before work and marriage and careful choices. She read the flyer twice. The date was Saturday. The place was the local library 10 minutes away. She told herself she would throw it away. Later, instead, she placed it on the kitchen counter. All evening, her eyes returned to it. The word beginner stayed with her. It sounded kind, sounded safe. Saturday arrived quicker than she expected. Emily stood in front of her closet longer than usual. She felt nervous, which annoyed her. This was just a class, she reminded herself. No one cared who she was. Still, her hands shook as she locked the door and stepped into the cold air. The library room was small but warm. Chairs formed a loose circle. A table held coffee and cookies. People of different ages filled the seats, some chatting, some quiet. Emily chose a chair near the edge, ready to leave if she needed to. Then she noticed a man across the room. He sat with calm posture, hands resting on a notebook. His hair showed gray, but his face looked kind. His eyes carried focus, not judgment. When he glanced up and met Emily's eyes, he gave a short nod. Not a smile meant to impress, just a simple greeting. It made her feel seen without pressure. The host welcomed everyone and asked them to share their names. Emily said hers softly. The man said his name was Daniel Moore. His voice was steady, warm, and clear. The workshop moved quickly. Short exercises, simple prompts. No one was asked to be perfect. Emily felt her shoulders relax. When it was her turn to read, fear rushed in, but she did not stop. Her words came out honest and clean. She spoke about routines, about time passing quietly, about wanting something unnamed. No one interrupted, no one laughed. Daniel listened closely, eyes focused as if her words mattered. When Daniel shared, his story was brief but deep. He spoke about leaving Toronto after a long career, about starting over in a new city, about how being new felt both scary and alive. Emily felt a pull she did not try to explain. The class ended sooner than she wanted. Rain waited outside again. People gathered coats and left. Emily stood still, unsure if she should speak to anyone. Daniel walked past her, then stopped. "You wrote honestly," he said. "That's not easy." Emily smiled, surprised by how much the words warmed her. So did you. They spoke for only minutes. About books they liked. About how strange it felt to be beginners at their age. About the rain that never seemed to stop. The talk was simple, but it felt real. When they said goodbye, Emily walked home lighter than she had in years. Her steps felt quicker. Her mind felt awake. That night she lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. She did not think about the future, or mistakes, or fear. She thought about how it felt to speak without hiding. She thought about Daniel's calm voice. She slept smiling, something she had not done in a long time. The next week, she returned without hesitation. Days passed faster. Work felt easier. Food tasted better. Emily found herself writing at night, just short thoughts, but honest ones. The workshop became a small, bright place in her week. Daniel always sat across from her. They did not rush into long talks. Connection grew through small moments, shared smiles, quiet understanding. When Emily doubted her writing, Daniel nodded encouragement. When Daniel spoke about starting over, Emily listened with care. One evening, the host asked them to write about fear. Emily's pen moved fast. She wrote about choosing safety and calling it peace. When she finished reading, her voice did not shake. Daniel wrote about leaving a life that no longer fit, even when it paid well and looked successful. He spoke about learning that comfort can become a cage. After class, they walked out together. The rain had stopped. Streetlights reflected on wet pavement. Daniel asked if she enjoyed the workshop. "I didn't expect it to change anything," Emily said. "But it did." He smiled gently. "Trying something new often does." That sentence stayed with her. Emily realized she was changing. Not loudly, not suddenly, just enough to notice. She laughed more. She slept better. She felt present. She also felt something else. A careful warmth when Daniel was near. A quiet excitement she had forgotten existed. It scared her, but it also felt honest. One night alone in her apartment, Emily looked at the flyer pinned to her board. She thought about how close she came to throwing it away. She wondered how many chances she had ignored before. She did not know where this path would lead. She only knew she was walking again, not standing still. And for the first time in years, that felt enough. Emily could feel life slowly pulling her out of her routine. The workshop had become more than just a Saturday activity. It was a pulse in her week that reminded her she could still feel. Each meeting brought small changes she didn't fully understand at first, stressed with more care, lingered a little longer over coffee in the morning, and even smiled at strangers on the street. It was subtle, but for someone who had spent years hiding in quiet habits, it felt monumental. Daniel Moore was always there, sitting quietly across from her. Their conversations remained light but meaningful. He never rushed, never forced intimacy, but somehow Emily felt connected. When he laughed, it was calm, patient. When he listened, it felt as if he truly saw her, past all the layers she had built to protect herself. Some days, she caught herself staring at him longer than necessary, feeling a strange warmth she hadn't expected to feel at this age. It was confusing and thrilling all at once. One late November afternoon, the workshop ended later than usual. Snow had started falling lightly, painting the city in muted shades of gray and white. Emily and Daniel left the library together, stepping into the crisp air. Daniel suggested a small cafe nearby. His voice was casual, but something in it made Emily feel this was more than just a friendly gesture. Her heart beat faster, but she told herself it was only the excitement of snow and new beginnings. Inside the cafe, the warmth hit them immediately. They found a table by the window where snowflakes drifted lazily down. The conversation began as it always did, books, memories, city life, but slowly it turned personal. Daniel shared moments of doubt about moving and starting over, moments of regret for things left behind. Emily found herself opening up to admitting she had spent years afraid to try anything new. She spoke of the comfort she had mistaken for peace, of days that felt like copies of one another. Daniel nodded, never interrupting, letting her words fill the space between them. As they spoke, Emily realized something important. Her life had been quiet, yes, but it had also been lonely in ways she hadn't fully recognized. Daniel's presence made her realize she had been avoiding risk, not just in work or hobbies, but in love, in friendship, in life itself. It was frightening to admit, but thrilling too. She laughed softly at the thought after decades of carefully avoiding change. She now looked forward to it. Weeks passed and their bond deepened naturally. There were no grand gestures, no rushed confessions. Just quiet support, small shared moments, and a growing comfort in each other's presence. Emily found herself thinking about Daniel outside the workshop. She remembered his small smiles, the way he listened intently, the way his eyes held quiet. Understanding. She found herself hoping he might feel something similar. But life, as Emily had learned, did not pause for hope. One Monday evening, she noticed Daniel was absent from the workshop. At first, she thought he might be sick, but as the class ended and he didn't show, unease settled in her chest. The next week, he returned, but there was a tension she had never seen before. His usual calm demeanor seemed distant. "I might be moving again," Daniel said quietly after class. "A job opportunity in Seattle." Emily's heart sank. She had only just begun to feel alive again, to believe in possibility. The idea of losing him, even in a non-romantic sense, felt devastating. She wanted to protest, to convince him to stay, but something in Daniel's eyes told her this was not a choice he could make lightly. That night, Emily walked home slowly. The city felt colder than usual. She replayed their conversations, wondering if she had misread signs or let herself hope too much. Her apartment, once a place of comfort, felt empty. The flyer from the first day of the workshop, still pinned to her board, seemed to mock her. Try new things, but sometimes they don't last. Yet something inside her had changed. She no longer feared the risk. She had learned to step into the unknown, even if the outcome was uncertain. With trembling hands, she wrote a message to Daniel. "Before you decide, there's something I should say. This workshop changed me. Meeting you helped me believe that change is still possible." She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Sending it felt like stepping off a cliff into cold water. She hesitated, then hit send. Immediately, relief and anxiety mixed into a strange electric feeling. She had done it. She had taken a risk, not knowing if it would lead to joy or disappointment, but she had acted. That alone felt like victory. The next day, Emily continued her routine with a new sense of purpose. Work felt lighter. Even mundane tasks carried a sense of potential. She found herself imagining conversations with Daniel, thinking about how he might respond. It was intoxicating and nerve-wracking all at once. When Daniel finally replied, the words were careful, thoughtful. He admitted he had also felt a connection, something rare and unexpected. He had been unsure if pursuing it was wise, but Emily's message made him realize that some risks were worth taking. They agreed to meet again, to talk openly about possibilities. From that point on, their relationship became a series of small, deliberate steps. They explored the city together after workshops, sharing coffee, watching the snow, talking about hopes and regrets. Every moment felt alive because they both chose to engage, to try something new despite past fears. Emily discovered that life could be vibrant even at her age, even after heartbreak, even after years of routine. By spring, Emily felt transformed. She had learned that taking risks was not reckless, it was necessary. Life demanded courage, even in small ways, and the rewards were profound. She smiled more, spoke more, and dared to hope again. Daniel remained a steady presence, a mirror to her own growth. They did not rush, they did not pretend to know the future. But each moment together reinforced the truth Emily had discovered. Trying new things was always worth it. One evening, as the sun set over Portland, Emily walked home with Daniel beside her. The sky was painted in gold and pink. Snow had melted, leaving the streets glistening. She realized she no longer feared the unknown. She understood that life's beauty came not from certainty, but from willingness to step forward. Daniel reached for her hand, and she held it without hesitation. Neither spoke immediately. They simply walked, feeling the quiet strength of connection, of shared risks, of new beginnings. Emily thought back to the flyer that had started it all. Something as small as a piece of paper had opened the door to an entirely new life. Had discovered that age was not a barrier, that comfort could be left behind, that the heart could still awaken after years of caution. And in that awakening, she realized a simple truth. Life only truly begins when you dare to try new things. No matter your past, no matter your fears, and no matter your age. Emily and Daniel's story was not dramatic or explosive. There were no grand declarations, no sudden twists, but it was real, was emotional, was filled with the quiet intensity of human connection and the courage to take risks. In each other, they found the beauty of possibilities, the sweetness of second chances, and the joy of discovering that life could always surprise, even after 42 years. By the time spring fully arrived, Emily knew she had changed. She could look at herself and see growth, resilience, and hope. The workshop, the rain, the quiet conversations, the risks, everything had brought her to this moment. She smiled at the thought that she had been brave simply by choosing to try something new. Daniel, walking beside her, squeezed her hand lightly. Emily's heart swelled not with fear, not with uncertainty, but with anticipation and gratitude. She had stepped into the unknown, and it had not swallowed her. It had led her to a life more vivid, more connected, more alive than she had imagined possible. And as the sun set over the city streets, Emily knew with clarity. Trying new things was not just good at, was essential. Without risk, there could be no growth, no love, no discovery. And in that simple understanding, she felt the quiet thrill of life stretching out ahead, full of possibilities she was finally ready to embrace.